Okay, so this is my mini lesson instruction final project. I'm gonna go ahead and I had to take a picture of the standard because I can't remember it word for word. The standard that I'm covering is the writing 910.3 in the North Carolina English Language Arts Standard Course of Study. And we are doing write narratives to develop a real or imagined experience or events using effective technique, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences. So that's what I'm going to cover with my students in this mini lesson instruction, and I'm going to go ahead and start right now. So, students, throughout the semester, we've read lots of novels, lots of short stories, poems, all kinds of stuff. We've been reading the works of everyone else. Well, today we're going to focus on creating something yourself and writing a completely original piece of literature for yourself. And today we're going to focus on fiction, which means we are not going to write about a past experience and word for word in factual detail. Today we are actually going to write something that you make up. Now you can base this in something that happened to you in the past or a past experience, but I want the characters involved and the events that happen to be fiction. So something that you make up completely. And we're going to discuss really quick different ways that you can do that because the tendency a lot of times when you're writing fiction is to just start writing and see where it goes. And while that is one way to do it, I wanted to kind of go over a more structured way to approach it so that you can go into your writing with an idea of what you want to happen, who you want it to happen to, and why. Because the more you plan with writing, especially with fiction, the more the story is going to make sense. And you want your story to make sense because if it doesn't make sense, your audience isn't going to like it as much because they're going to be like, well, none of this makes any sense. And then they're going to be disengaged and they're going to stop reading. And if you want to be an author, you want people to read because when people read, they buy your books and that's how you make money. So I don't know if you want to be an author or not. Doesn't really matter. You're in the class, so you're going to do the assignment and it's going to be a lot of fun. We know through our reading that stories have certain elements, right? Obviously, they have a plot and they have characters and they have conflict most of the time. You know, something goes wrong at some point. And then typically, after the conflict, there's some sort of conclusion, right? And we know this is sort of basic knowledge that you've learned throughout school and you've applied it in different ways. Now, in our class, we've also covered the summary technique of someone wants, but so then, right? So somebody wants, or someone being your character, the main character of the novel or short story that you're reading. We've gone through and identified that several times with everything that we've read. Wants, so what does that character want? What are they after? What's their motivation in the story? But something is stopping them from getting the thing that they want, right? So the character does something to try and fix that or overcome that obstacle so that they can get what they ultimately want. And the then part is just the conclusion. So how does it all end up? How does the story end? Where does it go from there? So what we really want to do is take the someone wants but so then formula and we want to start from scratch with it. So we want to build our story using the technique that we have been doing summaries of text with to sort of form a skeleton of the story that we're about to write. So for this assignment, we're going to have a 2 to 3 page story. You can write more than that if you want, but at a minimum, we're going to say 2 pages. Now, you can write a story in less than 2 pages for sure, but it's very difficult to get across all these elements that we just talked about: character, plot, conflict, conclusion, in less than 2 pages. So we're going to start at a 2-page minimum, and if your story goes longer than that, great. Let's try to keep it under 8 pages though, just for my sake, because I have to read all these and I can't read 330-page stories. So let's try to keep it in a short story, which is around typically 8 pages. So, but we're going to start by saying who. All right, so what I want you to do is write a paragraph about your character. Who is your character? What's their name? Where are they from? What's their family like? Where do they live? You know, maybe they live somewhere maybe they moved. Who are they? What are they interested in? what sort of drives this character? What do we need to know about this character? And you usually want to make your character pretty relatable. So you, like I said, you can include things about yourself, but try to make sure that you make the character fictional so that you have freedom with writing. If you try to base the character too much on yourself or someone you know, then it can really limit what you'll have that character do. So make a fictional character, fictional name. They can be from a real place. They can live in a real place, but let's make a totally made up character. It's a lot of fun. So once you have your paragraph about your character, now we need to know what they want, right? We have the someone, now we need the wants. So, what does your character want? What's your character's motivation throughout this story? We want to write a paragraph about that. What's my character after? Okay, it could be to make the school baseball team. It could be to get a girlfriend or boyfriend. It could be any number of things. But what do they want? What's their main motivation in this story? Let's write a paragraph about that, identifying what the character wants. Okay, now we're to the conflict part, the but. What's stopping them from getting what they want? Okay, we know who we've got in our story. We know what they're after in this story. But what's keeping them from getting it? Okay, is it antagonist? Is there someone in their way? Is there something in their way? You know, maybe it's a kid who wants to be on the baseball team, but they don't have a glove. Okay, it could be something as simple as that. I would hope that you guys sort of take it to that next level creatively and make it more interesting than just a kid who doesn't have a baseball glove. I mean, maybe you can make that interesting. I don't know. But take it to the next level creatively. Let's try not to make this too simple. So let's determine what's stopping them from getting what they want. And if it is an antagonist, which is a great way to make a story, then let's go ahead and describe that antagonist. Who are they? Where are they from? What's motivating them to stop your character? That's really how you can build a good conflict, is by having two sides of the story, like we've seen in so many texts already. You have a protagonist, you have an antagonist, and if they both have good motivation for what they're doing, it can make the audience really interested and engaged because they can relate to both the protagonist and antagonist. It's obviously engaging still to have a protagonist that's absolutely good and an antagonist that's absolutely bad, because it makes it easy for the audience to choose sides. And that's still entertaining. But you can also have it be a little more gray. Maybe the protagonist, is relatable and the antagonist is relatable. And neither of them are both all good and all bad. They're kind of both in the middle. And that's more relatable. So write it however you want to write it, but let's try to determine what's keeping the character from getting what they want, or who is keeping the character from getting what they want. Okay, so now we're at the so part of the story. We have our character. We know what they want. We know what's stopping them. So what is the character going to do? What's the plan? How is the character going to overcome this? Or what are they going to try to overcome this? And go ahead and let's write a paragraph about that. What are we going to try to do? How are we going to try to overcome this problem so that our character can get what they want? That's ultimately what the story is about, right? So this is really the meat of your story. How is the character going to overcome this obstacle that's popped up? What's the plan to reaching the goal? There has to be a plan, and it's really the bread and butter of your story. You're going to introduce your character, introduce the problem, and then most of your story is going to be about how we're going to solve this problem. Most stories have a few attempts at solving the problem and some failures. So, maybe there's more than one thing that the character is going to try. So let's give it a shot. Write a paragraph about that. Okay, and then finally we have the conclusion. How does it all play out? Does the character get what they want? Do they not get what they want? Is there a plot twist in there somewhere that we never saw coming? Were aliens involved somehow? Who knows? This is the part where you wrap up your story, you get your point driven home, and your audience should leave this part of the story feeling like they understood what happened, like the story made sense, and like it was fun to read. That's really the ultimate goal. So that is how we're really going to structure our story. So how do we take this skeleton of a story that we've built and make it a human story, right? Or that's a terrible analogy, but you get what I mean. It's a skeleton now. All it has is the bones. We need the meat and the skin and the hair and the clothes. We need it to be a person, right? That's terrible analogy, but you get it. Well, basically, we're going to take this skeleton and we're going to fill it in some. Typically, your introduction could be 1-2 paragraphs. You got your character, your setting, all that sort of stuff. What your character wants. That can take a little less. But the but and the so should take up the majority of your story, because that's really the meat of the story. That's really where the audience is going to dig in and be interested in how is this story going to end. So each element kind of feeds into the next, right? You create a character or someone that people care about, that they're related to, that they want to know about more about, okay? Then you show them the want. So what does that character want? And we care about what that character wants because we care about the character, because you made them relatable. The but is something that we care about because it's what's stopping our character from getting what we want, and we want the character to get what they want because we like the character. Do you see how this starts to build, okay? So the character is going to try to overcome this, and we care about that because we want the character to overcome it, because we care about what's stopping them from getting it, because we care about what they want, because we care about the character. Do you see how this just trickles down from this intro? This has to be really solid so that the rest of your story is engaging. And then obviously the conclusion brings it all together in the end, and usually you want to satisfy your audience with the conclusion. So that's your assignment. You're going to take our summary technique, you're going to build your own skeleton out of it, and then you're going to fill in that skeleton and make yourself a story, and you're going to submit that, and we'll read them and see what we think. So if you have any questions, let me know. But I feel like this is a really creative assignment, so just take it and run with it. Get as crazy as you want. Just make sure that we make things relatable so that the story is engaging, okay? So have fun with this. I can't wait to read what you come up with. I know it's going to be awesome. And yeah, good luck. If you have any questions, I think I already said that. So good luck.